Hello, everyone. Welcome to this Comrades Marathon webinar. It's our last of the series, and as I'm sure you guys are all feeling quite jittery, things are getting really, really real. We were chatting to Safiso here as well and asking how they are, excuse me, getting things ready for race day. And I'm sure you guys are feeling quite nervous and excited and all the feels. So yeah, really looking forward to this webinar. It is always one of the ones where the questions are really coming thick and fast because there's a lot that we want to know, and Lindsay's going to try and answer a lot of those in his presentation for you guys today. I see there are a couple of people who are already on watching. I see people calling in from all over, really. I see Kadlejo's joined, Hannes, Terence is also here, Shay is here from Ireland. So welcome, guys. Nice to have you guys here. Let us know in the chat. Let me know, how many comrades you've done. If this is your first up run, I know it's like a novice. Everyone feels a little bit like a novice because we haven't done an up run in a while. And then, guys, I'm going to post the link into the chats as well. Please share this with your running groups and your running friends and everyone else who perhaps isn't who doesn't know about it, so that they can also get some really, really good information for tonight about the race day and everything that you need to know. So let's get started. Let's just get into a couple of introductions. To start off, you know him well, Coach Lindsay Parry. You've seen him on your screens this whole year in these webinars. He is the official Marathon Comrades coach. For the past 15 years, Lindsay has been coaching amateur and professional athletes to PRs and podiums in some of the world's most prestigious races. He's led teams to the Olympic Games and the Commonwealth Games, and he has a marathon PR of 2:45 and a not too shabby Comrades PB of 7:11 as well. So welcome to the official coach, Linz. Nice to have you here tonight.
Good evening, everyone. Excitement is high. We are inside 10 days. Repeat, inside 10 days to race day. So looking forward to tonight.
Excellent. Thank you, Linz. Right, and if you don't know me, my name is Shona Hendricks. I'm not Brad. Brad is away on a course, and so I'm stepping in for him today. I am the former head of sports science at the University of Pretoria. I have a postgraduate degree in sports science. I have an MBA, and I'm a certified strength and conditioning specialist. I'm the creator of the Running Through Menopause training framework, and I'm a runner and triathlete myself. I've done a number of international marathons, a couple of ultra marathons, and a few half Iron distance triathlons as well. And then the other person we have with us today is Safiso Ngoma. Safiso is the marketing coordinator for the Comrades Marathon. He has been the MC of the Stomp Awards in Cape Town, and he is also the assistant race director for the Pietermaritzburg City Marathon and the race director of the Green Trail Run. So welcome to you, Safiso. As always, nice to see you again. How are you doing? How are you feeling in the build up to 10 days? Within 10 days?
I'm good, Shona. Thank you so much. I'm feeling very well and much ready. As I was saying earlier, I don't have a choice but to be ready. We are 9 days away from the race.
Exactly. There we go. So, thank you so much, guys, for your time. Just so you guys know, we will try and answer as many questions as we can. What we're going to do is get through the presentations, and then we'll do a nice long Q&A afterwards. So keep the questions coming. I'll flag them as we're going through, and we'll definitely stick around and answer a couple of questions afterwards. What I'm going to do first up, though, is just hand over to Safiso. Safiso is going to give a brief presentation on the charities, and then we'll get stuck into the nuts and bolts of what to be doing in our next 9 days. So thanks, Safiso. I'm going to hand over to you.
Thank you so much, Shona. Good evening to all our runners all over the world. Welcome to the last webinar for Comrades 2024. It's good to be here. We are 9 days away from the race. I hope everyone is ready. We've all trained. We've been training also here at the office for you to have a beautiful race. So we are ready for you. I hope you are ready for us too. I don't have quite a lot of things to say tonight. As we are 9 days away, if you haven't done a lot of things, fundraise, trained, you're probably too late now. But there is something that I will focus on, which is our charities tonight, where you are really not too late. We still have enough time, more especially because now you have qualified. You have you are sure that you are going to be on the start line. You have trained, so now you can use the rest of this week to assist our charities. Our charities, I often you'll see the word Amapidipidi or Amapidipidi official charities. This is a charity arm of the Comrades Marathon that was established in 1996. Since 1996, we have raised over 71 million rand through the help of our runners, donors, and companies that assist with our fundraising campaign. I didn't mean to put this slide here to scare you, but it's just a little reminder that we are 9 days away. And just to console you, you have trained enough for the ultimate human race. You are ready for this. So there's no doubt. In 9 days, we will be with you. Going back to our charities, how can you assist on Amapidipidi charities? There are 3 ways that runners assist in for us to raise that 71 million rand that I've mentioned. One, when you are entering, you have an option to donate it to any of our charities. So that money goes directly to our charities. And then the second option, and then you also can buy any merchandise at the expo from our charities. That's also a big support for our charities. And then the second arm of our fundraising platforms for our charities is the Race for Charity. This is the biggest one. How it works is you sign up and select the charity that you would like to raise funds for, and there you go. Then you start fundraising, and then whatever amount that you raise at the end of the campaign, will go directly to the charity that you have selected. The last option is the Toyota Win a Car competition, which I will explain a little bit later as well. These are our 6 official Amapidipidi charities: Sun Parks, or South African Parks, National Parks Honorary Rangers, Community Chest of Durban and Pietermaritzburg, Childline KZN, Childhood Cancer Foundation South Africa, Rise Against Hunger Africa, and the Hillcrest AIDS Center Trust. So you select in one of these charities if you are joining the Race for Charity. So far, under Race for Charity component alone, we are sitting at 4.3 million that has been raised by the people who sign up to raise funds for our charities. As it stands, we have Yana Kalmeya, who has just over 130,000. Her target was just 6,000 rand, and she has went and surpassed the target with great margins. So you can still start your fundraising. Think as we are 9 days away from the race, there's quite a lot that you can still do, because we opened the fundraising platform 2 weeks after the race, so that you can try and get some much needed funds for our charities. How do you sign up? As I've said, it's not too late as yet. You just go to your EasyReg profile. When you press login, you put in your login details, your password, and then you will be taken to this page here. Then you go to your Comrades profile, Comrades entry, 2024 entry. And when you scroll down on your dashboard, you will see that option that says Join Race for Charity. If you click on that red button, it will take you to this page where you can just where you will be required to put in just 4 things to sign up for our charities. One, this is optional. You can either not put anything if you don't want to be seen, or select any picture that will be your profile image for your profile, and then you select the name, the charity that you want to raise funds for amongst the 6 official that I've mentioned earlier. You can write a story below there. Why is that charity close to your heart, or why do you want to raise funds for that particular charity? And then the most important part is there where you select your target. How much would you like to raise for your charity? And then you in order for you to, or in order for the community, for the charity that you are raising funds for to communicate with you, you can simply click on yes there on that last option and press save. Once you have saved, your name will appear on the list of runners that are raising funds for our charities. So this is the list of runners that raise funds for our charities. So your name will appear there, the name of the charity that you are raising funds for, your target amount, and the amount that you have raised as you go through with your fundraising. And then the last option to assist our charities is the Toyota Win a Car competition. I often refer this car as the cheapest car in South Africa as it stands. This car goes for 50 rand. The only trick is when you spend your 50 rand, you need to also make sure that you have you take your 50 rand that goes with your ancestors, your God, and all your lucks, so that on race day you can be the winner of this brand new Corolla Cross 1.8. So this competition is open to all South Africa, to only people that are living within South African borders. It doesn't matter wherever you are in South Africa. If you win on race day, we'll get the car delivered to you after the race. You will just need to fill in. We will take it to your nearest Toyota dealership, and then you will have to collect it there so that you can fill in the required documents for the handover of a car, just like when you are buying one. You can get the ticket on our website, www.comrades.com, or you can get the raffle tickets directly from our charities, the 6 official charities that I've mentioned earlier. So please buy your tickets. At least if you don't win the race, at least you can win a car. So we can all go home happy on the 9th of June. Just a few updates on what we are looking forward for next week. We are opening our expo in Durban. If you are an exhibitor, the build up will be on Wednesday the 5th. The official opening will be on Thursday the 6th at 10 a.m. Or we open on Thursday from 10 up to 7 in the evening. On Friday, we open a bit early at 9 and close at the same time at 7 in the evening. Then on the last day, we open at 9 and close a bit early at 4. So it is important that you make sure that you are in Durban or Pietermaritzburg, depending where you selected to collect your race pack. You are there on time to collect your race pack, because once we have closed the expo and you did not collect your race number or your race pack, unfortunately you will not be able to run, because even if you know Sifiso, shame, I will not be able to help you, because as soon as we close the expo, we take everything that is left, put it in the truck, the driver take the truck with the container and drive back to the office. So I will not have the access to that container. No Comrades employee will have access to that container, because that is a portfolio that is made by one of our volunteers. So he is the only person who will have access to that container, and he can't open it up until a week later after the race. So make sure that you are on time. You make means to get your race pack collected. Tomorrow we will be sending out the final confirmation email. At the bottom of your email, you will have a proxy button. If you need to get someone to collect for you, it will be done online. You just click on that proxy, you nominate the person that will collect on your behalf, and then that person will receive a link that they will use, or a barcode that they will use when they get to the expo, to show that this is the person that they are collecting for. And if you do not make it on time, or you do not appoint a proxy on time, unfortunately you won't be able to participate on the race. So let's make sure that we make all means to get our things on time and get our house in order. Thank you so much. We can follow us for more updates on our social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or X now, and TikTok. And we are also available on LinkedIn. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Sofiso. While you're here, let me just ask you a question. Eben is asking, let's pop it up here for you, saying, where can we watch the Comrades Marathon documentary called Down? We need some inspiration. Is that available? Do you know where they can maybe find that?
Yes, if you can just give me a second. I do have the...
Cool. So you can maybe, if you can find that link, and then you can pop it into the chat there for them.
Yeah, most definitely. I will share it on the chat.
Brilliant. Cool. Thank you, Sophie. So cool. And then we'll hear from you in a little bit. So thank you so much for that. Very important part of what Comrades does, and the charities and the amount of work and effort and funds that get raised. It's really, really brilliant. So thank you, Sophie. So cool. Let me bring up the coach, the main man. Lindsay, nice. I see lots of questions already coming through. People going, "Oh, I'm sick. I'm nervous." Lots of novices. So lots of nerves around, and I know your presentation is going to tackle all of that. So let me hand over to you, and we can take it from there.
Cool. How's it? So hopefully my presentation doesn't make you more nervous. But if it does, I will certainly be trying to give you some tools to calm the nerves and make sure that you get a finisher's medal on race day, which ultimately is what we are about. We want you to start, so I will definitely touch on some of those questions around injury and illness, because we really do want everyone to start. And if you are sick or injured, what you do in the next couple of days will have a huge determining factor on both whether you actually start the race, but much more important than that, finishing. I mean, that's really, really what we want. Our scary stat, I'm going to share it with you guys again tonight. You've heard it every single webinar since the year started, so it would be inappropriate of me to leave it out. But ultimately, hopefully in this series of webinars, we have inspired someone in the audience to chase after the dream of getting a gold medal or finishing in top 10. Unfortunately, that's a very small percentage of us. Most of us, this is us. This is where we want to be. This is what we care about. We want to get over the finish line and join thousands of people who have done the Comrades Marathon. So we are going to go through the last few days here. We've touched on it in the last webinar and the novice webinar. And I'm obviously going to focus almost exclusively on race day. And then we will talk a little bit about sick and injured, which will be a bit of a repeat of the last webinar. But with so many people sick at the moment and a couple of people injured, it's well worth going through that again. As we move into the last days, most people this weekend will be playing the game on Sunday. Where will I be this time next week? And that really tells you all you need to know about how close we are to race day. I mean, we're 9 days away. It's literally right there. Right, so we want to stay off our feet as much as possible, particularly in those last 3 to 4 days. So if you are able to get into Durban or Pietermaritzburg, depending on where it is that you have booked your accommodation for the first few nights, if you can register Thursday, Friday, please do. It takes a ton of pressure off Comrades, but also off yourself. There's really very little chance of standing in a queue on Thursday and Friday. They just don't have enough people that go through there. If you live in Durban, please come and register on Thursday. It gives us something to do at the expo, of course, which is very important. But it also just takes a lot of pressure off everybody, and it creates some vibe on Thursday if we can get a little bit busy. I've been talking about the lists for a little while now, mentioning after the long run in the novice webinar, in the previous webinar, you need to make your list, check your list now, so that on the weekend, if there's anything that you don't have that should be on that list, that you go and get it over the weekend and you make sure that you take that with you to Durban. Very important. I'm going to repeat this a few times this evening. Nothing new on race day. So literally everything that you've tried up to now, Hopefully it works. Hopefully you know what you're doing. Hopefully you know what you're using. And that is what you want to stick to. Nothing new on race day. And very, very important is make sure that you come and say hi at the expo, whether you are there Thursday, Friday, or Saturday. Shona, myself, Brad, and the team are all going to be there. We'll be selling pacing charts. We'll be doing general pacing charts on the hour and a half hour that we'll be selling for charity. And we will be selling more specific pacing charts on demand for people who have got much more specific targeted times that they want to go after. Right. The biggest stat. Why does 68% of non-finishers not get a medal? And it's simply because they start either sick or injured. Okay. So we are going to address that and make sure that you are not one of those. So that will be just about the last thing I'm going to cover this evening. Right. What should be on your list? Should be on your list. The obvious things are shoes, socks, what cap you're going to wear, sports bra, your club kit, bib fixes to pin your numbers onto your vest, suntan lotion, Vaseline, plasters, any blister repair kit, or any other stuff that you use and need to protect your feet that you have already used. Remember, nothing new on race day. All your nutrition, your gels, your bars, your electrolytes, if you've making your own special stuff, if you're relying on more natural foods, if you're a vegetarian, whatever it is, you pop that onto your list, because what goes on your list is for you and it's what you need on race day. And then just to reiterate that none of that stuff and nothing hopefully on your list is new. It's hopefully been tried and tested already. Right, I found the best profile that I could, because all the other profiles look a little something like this, and the up run is scary and it is difficult, and there is no way around the fact that you are going to climb for 1,700 meters and you're going to have 1,000 meters of elevation loss. So we've got net 700 climbing. It's just under 700, 680, whatever, which ironically is the what we are going to run to in Pietermaritzburg. That's the altitude in Pietermaritzburg, and the altitude in Durban is 0. So that makes absolute sense that the net difference then is going to be 680 meters. But that is the challenge, okay? And that is what makes running the up run a different and unique challenge, because whatever time you have targeted for race day, be it a silver, be it a finish, be it a 10-hour finish, if you were to go and work out the average pace you need to run to get that finishing time, and then you plug that into any algorithm, I mean, they're all slightly different, but any algorithm you plug that into, it's going to spit out a time that is slower than the time you are targeting, because there's more climbing than up. And so when you are prepping and planning how you're going to tackle Comrades, you have to decide where it is that you are going to close that gap. Are you going to run a little bit harder than you should on the downs? Or are you going to run a little bit harder than you should on the ups? And that will depend a little bit on where you feel comfortable, where you are as a runner. And do you want to run a little bit faster over 1,700 meters of climbing, or do you want to run a lot faster over 1,000 meters of descending? And those really are the trade-offs. And then, of course, the further back in the field you go, you also have to factor in where you're going to catch up that time that you're going to lose getting over the start mat. And so that is the unique challenge of the Comrades. But I thought it was good for you guys to see one that didn't make you need to go to the bathroom. Unfortunately, you can't see my cursor dragging over the screen. So, I can't drag and show you the landmarks along there. But this one is labeled, and so it'll give you a good idea of what is happening, where it's happening. And what you'll note is that literally as we get off West Street and climb up to the highway, we are climbing. So that pretty much starts at about 5 kilometers. You are climbing, and the unique hills, the hills that don't have partners with a bit of a downhill, I will go through those because that's what defines the up run. And we've got 45th cutting, which has an up and a down, but the down isn't as much down as the up. We have got Cowie's Hill, which is the first of the big five, which is exactly the same. And it's kind of the end of Westville. So once you go over 45th cutting, you pretty much climb through Westville, get a tiny little bit of respite there at about the 14K mark. And then you climb through Westville onto Cowie's Hill. You get a little bit of downhill on Cowie's Hill. And then once you get through Pinetown, you're on Fields Hill, and Fields Hill doesn't have a corresponding down. And so this is one of the main climbs where you literally make up the bulk of that altitude. It's a long, hard climb until you get to Hillcrest, of which 3Ks of that climb is Fields Hill. And you get to the top. It's not, and if I go back to my previous map, you will see it's not as steep as it looks all the way through. So the steep part here, just after 20 Ks, that is Fields Hill, and then it flattens out, but just steadily climbs up until you get to that little dip just in front of Botha's Hill in Hillcrest, and then you are climbing Botha's Hill, which is the third of the big five. Then you've got a nice long drop into halfway. Few little speed bumps up. You've got to do a little bit of a climb up to Elveston Mast. Then you drop down into halfway at Drummond. And this year, halfway is very close to mathematically halfway. So it's never equal halves at Comrades because it's not a mathematical point. It's a traditional point. So when you go through Drummond, you will be just a fraction under 43 Ks, and when you get in the second half, you'll be a smidgen over 43 Ks. So it's damn close. It's as close as you're ever going to get to a 43 halfway split. But that is through Drummond, and then it's the mighty Nchanga. That, to me, is the most brutal climb of the day. You will already be tired. You've already run a marathon, and you've got to get over Nchanga. And then on this map, this is really exaggerated. So Harrison Flats are not so flat, but you're still going up ever so slightly. But from Cato Ridge, which is about 30 Ks to go, it is largely downhill. And so if we look at the map, you'll see at 32 Ks to go, it's largely downhill. There is a slight uptick again that takes us to the highest point of the route at Umlaas Road. And then from Umlaas Road, it's glorious running all the way to Little Polly's, which is that tiny little teepee that you see there, up the mighty, I use that word quite a lot, but that is because these hills do feel mighty and intimidating, Polly Shorts. And this is the main reason why I wanted to pull out this map, because on the new finish, what you can see here is that it is almost exclusively downhill. There are, once you get off the back of Polly Shorts, there are 3 little lumps, but they tend downward. So you climb a little bit, go down quite a bit, climb a little bit, go down quite a bit. But the overall feeling here from 6Ks out is very much downhill. Right, so to cap the hills, Cowie's Hill, Fields Hill, Botha's Hill, Nchanga, Polly Shorts, those are the big five. Everyone knows them. Everyone's prepared for them. Everybody's ready for them. What people aren't so ready for is Tollgate Bridge, 45th Cutting, the Harrison Not So Flats, the little climb up to Umlaas Road, climbing up Little Polly. So there's just lots of little niggly climbs that get into your head and make you think, oh my goodness, are we ever going to go downhill? And the good news is that really most of the last 30 Ks are up. Yes, you've got the little pool to Umlaas. Yes, you've still got to get over Polly Shorts. But so much of those last 30 Ks are downhill that the second half of the up run is actually quite nice running, even though you are tired and sore. Okay. We were hoping to record a podcast for the spectators like we did for the down run, but that's really not going to be possible. This is recorded, so if your supporters aren't watching with you now, then just get them to fast forward to this part. Let them have a little listen to what I'm going to say now. So there are roadworks. Okay, so that is a big disclaimer for me when I go through this, and it's part of the reason why I also haven't done that podcast, because I don't know exactly where and how those roadworks are going to impact where you can and can't go. So what I would suggest is that your supporters actually do a little bit of a drive to check out these spots and make sure that they aren't closed off or inaccessible because of the roadworks. Okay, so to go through the list of places that are pretty easy to get to, and I think that's important as we move from the sort of 9.5, 10-hour mark and backwards, then it is very congested. It's difficult to get both in and out of those spots. So if your runner that you're following is chasing a sub-9 Bull Rowan, and you don't stick around to watch too much more, then you generally tend to be able to stop at more spots. You can get into them, you get in them quite early, and you get out of them before they're getting parked in and all of that stuff starts. Unfortunately, from 10 hours and back, there just is a high volume of people that are trying to watch. And then I would say that you need to be careful about where and how you park, number one. Number two, pick 2 spots, 3 absolutely maximum. But then I think if you go for a third spot, you are probably risking not seeing who you are supporting finish. Okay, so the nice spectator spots that are easy to get to, and I think the first one is going to be impacted by roadworks. So that's Westville. You just head to the pavilion and you take the off ramp at the pavilion and head to the Comrades route, and you will get that'll. There's a few side roads or whatever, so you can make a little bit of a decision, but you can line up there anywhere that's 12 to 14 Ks into the route. The foot of Cowie's Hill, that's on the Pinetown side. That is quite nice to watch, and that's generally when it's actually light and you can start to really see the runners. So that's not a bad spot before the real hard work and climbing starts. That's at roughly 17, 18 kilometers into the race. Then Hillcrest, huge spectator spot, great atmosphere. And look, that's where most people head to for their first spot. It gives you lots of time to get from the start there, but it is very popular. There are quite a few side roads that you can take off of as a guy that will take you a little further along the route. Or a little bit further back along the route, but it's a great area to watch. It's one of the places I would recommend going. Just be careful about your parking. Try and park somewhere where you can't get yourself parked in, and that stretches from about 30 to 33 kilometers into the race. Then in Chunga, it's a spot where your spectators will love seeing you. Unfortunately, that is one of the hot spots where cars do get broken into. So unless I am seconding the very fast runners and I leave someone in the car, I get people their stuff and then I get out of there. So in Chunga, and as you get to the split, so you take the Hammerskraal off ramp, and then you'll have a choice where you can go slightly in or carry on going out to the left, and that takes you to Caravan Park. Caravan Park probably arguably slightly safer in terms of car break-ins. So nice area. Runners will love to see you. But if you've got small children or you carting your parents around, I would probably just give that one a skip. Caterridge and Camperdown are fantastic. Both of those spots, brilliant. Camperdown wasn't available last year because of the roadwork. So that's part of why you need to go and check out what's happening. But Caterridge with about 30 Ks to go and Camperdown around 25 Ks to go just before Umlast Road. Both of those are really, really good. I would pick one of the two, very close to the highway, easy to get access to it, easy to get back on the highway and keep driving through to Pietermaritzburg. And then finally at 10 Mile Bridge, which used to be 16 Ks to go, will now be 15 Ks to go. Also easy to get to and nice for a quick stop. Hey, see them go past, and then you've got to shoot to get to the finish, because there will be a bit of traffic. There have been some really good changes to the finish to try and improve the traffic flow in Maritzburg, but I wouldn't take a chance. That's a real quick stop and go. Get yourself to the finish. So yeah, hopefully that'll help the spectators and the people that are seconding you. Okay. Next, and very important, with everything that's been going on social media around last year's Comrades, Two Oceans this year, and now Comrades, and the changes that have constantly been happening on the cutoffs. Just very important for me to really point this out, in particular for the people that are tight on closing or not finishing. Okay, so there really isn't a concern for missing cutoffs this year. Honestly, like, there is too much time. So Comrades have gone with the philosophy that they're going to give you all the time possible for you to get to the finish. So there is heaps of time. The halfway cutoff at 6:20 is massive, and the halfway cutoff at 11:20 is huge. So I really don't foresee people missing. I see a lot of people getting through to the finish, but quite a few of those missing out on an actual medal because they've gone too close to that 11:20. So you really need to be on top of your game. And I'm on the next slide, I'm going to talk you through how to do that. Okay. There is 1,700 meters of climbing versus 1,000 meters of elevation loss. I've already pointed that out. You are also going to lose time crossing the timing mat. And so I really am in favor of Comrades giving people as much time in the route to catch up the lost time. But if I was you, I would really do my best to have made up almost all of that time by the top of poly shorts, and I'll show you how to do that shortly. Okay. You can make up time in the second half. Of course you can, but you can't make up all of the time in the second half. And I think that's important, because you have to run so much up that the route just doesn't allow for perfect running. So in other words, if we look at how much downhill is in the second half versus how much uphill is in the first half, a perfect race doesn't allow you to make up all of that time. So somewhere along the line, we do have to start making up that time. And I'm going to do some talks at the Comrades, and I'm going to do this little bit, I think, in a little bit more detail, because I really do feel quite strongly about it. So what I have got here is the cutoffs in the middle. That is what the band that you'll buy at the expo looks like, and that band has the actual cutoffs. On the right-hand side, I've got what I believe to be much closer to the ideal way to run the Comrades and to get your finishers medal. Okay, so they tie up quite well at 18, and it's the red ones are the cutoffs, just so that you know. So where I've got the red, that's where the cutoffs are. And so if you are running, and that's what I've tried to do with those bands that are designed for Comrades, is I've tried to keep you on track on what's more or less ideal, and I've taken into account those 10 minutes to cross the line. Okay, so the times you see on this band are taking that 10 minutes into account. So where they're fairly similar at 1K in, that is 18 minutes, 11Ks in. Should have done this as kilometers to go, and I will do that. So just come to the talk at the expo. I'll fix that, because that's what you're going to be processing for race day. But essentially, when you get to the first cutoff point, just about 30Ks in, the cutoff is at 4:45. I'm suggesting you try and get there at 4:23. So you can see the cutoffs have given you ample time. Nobody should be missing cutoffs. When you get to Drummond, that is 6 hours 20 is the cutoff. 6 hours 10, 6 hours 12 is really what I feel you should be going through there at. And then at the 67.5, 68 kilometer mark, you've got 9 hours 40 to get through there. I'm suggesting 9 hours 30. And then at the top of poly shorts, 11 hours 20. And you want to be 11 hours 10, 11 hours 13 to make that happen. I think the 11 hour 20, generous, cool, give everyone an opportunity. There is lots of downhill. I know runners can do amazing things at the end. So I'm really not opposed to the sort of 10 to 20 people that will be helped by increasing that to 11 hours 20. But I do suspect that the people that will really benefit from that are the people that are having your kind of 10.5 hours and faster runner that's just really having a bad day. But that cutoff will still allow those people to pick up and get to the finish. But if you are a borderline finisher, you want to be much closer to 11 hours 13, if possible 11 hours 10, because then that will mean that you know that you're going to finish if you get through there. Then 11 hours 15, you're starting to put a lot of pressure on yourself, and 11 hours 20, you're going to have to pull off something special to make it to the finish. Like I said, I know it's not impossible, but try not to put yourself in that position. Okay. Right. So tonight I have done this little piece a few times. So yeah, if you've heard it, I'm sure you'll enjoy hearing it again. If you haven't heard it, it really is, as far as I'm concerned, some of the most important advice that I can give, especially to anybody who is in H-Batch and who is going to be losing time as they cross the start line. So essentially what the Comrades Marathon Association has always been fantastic at organizing a great race, but in particular, organizing an amazing start. There's no race in the world that you will go to that will be as good as the start. The sheer number of people, the sheer scale of the task, and the nerves and the excitement around that, the fact that we start in the dark and there are bright spotlights around, that there is music playing, that there are traditions in place, that people sing Shosholoza and they sing the national anthem, and there is a cock crow that goes off, and this atmosphere just builds and the excitement builds. And the best way I can describe it is that the start of the Comrades Marathon is truly what for an average person is to be playing in the Super Bowl, or playing a test match, a rugby test match at Ellis Park, or if you were a footballer, it would be the equivalent of playing. It's the equivalent of playing in the World Cup final. It's like that big. It's like being in the FA Cup final without the atmosphere is amazing. And for an ordinary person, that's really the emotion and the level of goosebumps that you're going to get at the start. And we're all packed in there. They're going to be between 19,000 and 20,000 starters. You can feel that weight pressing up against you as everybody's getting ready to move. And the starting gun will go, and then nothing will happen. You'll just be standing there. And your anxiety will start to go up, because now the race has started. You want to get going. You've been waiting for months for this moment, and now nothing is happening. And you are looking, and you are getting frustrated and nervous and anxious, and the clock is ticking, and you can see the time clock, and it's getting to 4.5 minutes, and you're only just starting to walk, and you're thinking to yourself, how long is this going to take? And it's going to take somewhere between 6.5 and 10 minutes for you to get across the start line if you are in H-Batch. So you are going to be peak anxiety. But it is so important that in that moment that you control how you are feeling, and you need to write on your arm, left or right, you can choose, hold back. It's so important, and in the first 30 Ks of Comrades, that you get yourself in check and you slowly catch it up. Okay. If we flick back one slide, you can see that on the cutoffs, we 20 minutes behind, 8 minutes behind, 10 minutes behind, 7 minutes behind. We catch up slowly. We use 80 kilometers until you get to poly shorts to make up that deficit. We don't do it in the first 5 to 8 Ks. If you run too hard, the first 5 to 8 Ks, you've already done loads of hard running. If we flick back all the way to the route, you can see you run too hard in the first 10 Ks, you have blown it. Okay. Remember, we have to take an educated gamble on where we're going to run a little bit faster, not much faster. So you want to hold back, stick to your plan, catch up the time slowly, especially in the first 30 Ks. After that, we start to get to work on catching up. Okay. Now, the second thing you're going to promise yourself, because this to me is the real key to finishing Comrades when you are in H batch. You never, ever stop. So you write on your other arm, don't stop. You make yourself a promise that for every second, for the rest of those 12 hours, the 11 hours 50 that you've got left, for the next 11 hours 50, every step or every second, you are going to take a step that gets you closer to Pietermaritzburg. That doesn't mean you can't walk. In fact, you must walk. That's critical. It's important. But you mustn't stop. When you see the people that have come out to support you, slow down and walk. Have a little bit of a chat with them. Let them walk a few steps with you, but don't stop moving. Every time you stop moving, the clock is going to carry on ticking. Tick, 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 tick. But you are going to be standing still. That is time wasted. There are 43 water stations on the route. So if you even stop at a quarter of them, 10 of them, that's going to be 5 to 10 minutes gone. If your spectators stop and see you twice, you stop and chat to them, that's 2 to 3 minutes. That's another 5 minutes gone. You stop on the side of the road for a massage because your legs are sore. You're going to stand in a queue because there's lots of people whose legs are sore. That's another 6, 7. And before you know it, you look back and you can hear the firing gun going when you are just outside the race course. And you cast your mind back to the places where you stood on the side of the road. Just make sure that you do not stop. Keep on moving. That is so important. This is the most important thing to remember from tonight. Okay. So I said I would talk about sick and injured people. Okay. So honestly, being sick this week is a blessing compared to the people who are going to get sick next week. Sick and injured, you've got time. Okay. Go and get medication. Stay at home, sleep, do not train. I mean, those are really 3 things that are so important. Get treatment. So whether you're sick or injured, get treatment. Rest. Both injury and illness, resting will allow you to get better faster. Okay? And that is the key. Remember that of the 4,000 approximate people that, actually that number is a bit high, bit of a gross exaggeration, of the 1,000, of the just over 1,000 people who aren't going to finish Comrades on race day, 68% of those, over 500 of those runners, don't finish because they start sick or injured. So don't start Comrades sick or injured. You've got 9 days. Get to a physio. Get it sorted out. If you're sick, get healthy. Sleep, medication. If you get sick next week, it's even more important that you go to a doctor as fast as you can, get the medication that you need, and get better so that you line up healthy. If you get sick in the 48 hours leading into the race, it is so important that you consult a medical practitioner because you need to make sure that it is safe for you to line up. That needs to be your priority. I know you've been training for 6 months. I know how much you and your family have committed to this process, but honestly, nothing is worth ending up in hospital with permanent complications or death. So those are the people that my heart breaks for, people who come down in the last 48 hours. But please, please, please go and see a doctor. Make sure it's not viral. At the moment, there is a horrible swine flu going around. Unfortunately, there's COVID going around, and then there's a normal flu, which isn't nearly as bad. But all three of those are viral, and that's the disappointing thing. They are viral, and they are dangerous to exercise with. It's as simple as that. Right, that is it from the one-sided monologue from Lindsay Parry. I think it's time for us to get into some questions.
Awesome. Good, Linz. Thank you so much. As always, learning so much, and hopefully calmed a lot of nerves there. There was a lot less chat in the chats and chats are going on, so I think everyone took everything in, guys. And yeah, just a few little notes there to keep on touch and to get you through race day. Linz, I'm going to start with quite simple questions, just in terms of like starting the race on the morning. I know Durban isn't as cold as Maritzburg, but Rhodes is asking, how cold is it in the morning? Would it warrant one to have gloves in the morning? I'm not sure what the temperatures are looking at. I know we were saying the other day that it's actually looking quite warm in Durban, but there's a cold.
Yeah, so it's actually looking too hot. So I'm secretly hoping for a cold spell, because if we don't get a cold spell, it's going to be very difficult. So Rhodes, typically for the up run, it's very warm for the first 18, 19 Ks. And then once we get into Pinetown, there's a little bit of a temperature drop, but honestly, it's not enough for gloves. I mean, for the up run, I wear a thin long sleeve shirt, and I do have throwaway gloves, but honestly, I've never worn them for more than like 5 minutes on the up run. So yeah, just a thin long sleeve shirt. If a cold spell hits, then as I said, it can be a little bit chilly in Pinetown and Hillcrest, and then after that it gets really warm. Yeah, so that's that one.
Awesome, thank you, Linz. And just on the same sort of stream of thought, James is asking, do you suggest a torch for the start? I mean, I'm not sure what's happening from a load shedding perspective or lights on the road, but yeah.
Yeah, and there's some road works around 45th Cutting. I know that the CMA has spoken about putting out extra spotlights, etc. But yeah, it's not a bad idea. So the problem obviously is whatever you take, you're most likely to run with for a long period of time. But even so, a headlamp, or in my case, I've got like a really nice harness. I would run with that until I got to my first club tent. It will be dark. We hopefully won't start load shedding on Monday after they announce the election results, but it is something that needs to be taken into account. And even if there isn't load shedding, a lot of South African street lights don't work. So yeah, good question. Thanks for asking it. That's probably a nice piece of kit to take with you.
Excellent. Linz, around the hills, I mean, so let me start this question from Nick. He's asking about Inchanga, saying, how does Inchanga on the up compare to the part of Inchanga on the down? How much longer, comparison of difficulty. And then maybe just tied with that, because there was someone else just asking, how do you tackle these hills in terms of your run walk strategy here? So just, do you 3 minutes run, 1 minute walk? How would you tackle some of these hills?
Yeah, so those are both quite good questions. The Inchanga on the up run is slightly steeper, but it's not nearly as long. So it's probably 2.7 Ks if memory serves me. The very beginning is quite steep, and then it flattens out a little bit, and then you're nearing the top. You'll see there's an actual Indian, as in like cowboys and Indians, painted on the side of the wall, and then you are fairly close to the top of Inchanga. So it's a bit steeper, not as long, but you also know in your mind that this is it. you are now literally breaking the back of the Comrades. And when you get over in Changa, there's lots of forgiving running, and it's nowhere near as steep and sore as what the down run is. So you've actually got some pleasant kilometers ahead of you. Yeah, and I remember in 2008, I was seconding some slower runners as part of a TV thing, and one of the gentlemen, we were about 2/3 up in Changa, and I shouted at him, "You've just got to get over in Changa, and then you home and dry." And because it was so close actually to the top of Nchanga, he got over the top of Nchanga, and then he really, like, mentally, he battled so much, and then eventually I can't remember where I saw him, but I think it might have been Camperdown, which is like now another 15 k's further. And he's like, saw me, he's like, "Where's Nchanga? Where's Nchanga?" I was like, "No, bro, you went over it just after we spoke." And then he flew to the finish. So yeah, you got to be careful how and what you say to people on race day. So in terms of a strategy to tackle them, so pretty much all the named hills. So pretty much the hills that I've named today: 45th Cutting, Cowie's Hill, Fields Hill, Botha's Hill, Nchanga, Pollies, not so much Little Pollies, and or Umlast Road, because they really are, they're much more gradual, and but all the other ones, all those named hills, I would have a strategy in place. So my strategy is typically dependent on how far back in the field you are, how strong a runner you are. So I tend to go with the faster runners, shorter, less frequent walks. So for a silver medalist, for example, I would say one, maximum two short 20 to 30 second walks on all the named hills. Bill Rowan, I would tackle those named hills doing something like a run 3, walk 1, or walk 30 second, that kind of strategy. And then 10 to 11 hours would be like a 2-minute 30 second, and 11 to 12 hours would almost be a 1-to-1. I'd run 1 minute, walk 1 minute, or run 30 seconds, walk 30 seconds. Just steadily get yourself up. When you do it like that, you run it at a slightly faster average anyway. But even if it's the same average, which it often is, because I experiment with these things when I'm running in races, and when I run walk, I climb at the same speed or faster than the people around me. So you both get up faster, or at the very least at the same speed as if you were running. But crucially, you get to the top and you don't need to recover because you feel good and you can just keep going.
Excellent. Linz, there are a ton of these questions, so I'm not going to individualize them because it is too difficult, to give everyone's different paces and times for the different medals. But maybe just let me use Ben's as an example. So he's aiming for a Bill Rowan. What can, and I know you mentioned it, but maybe let's just reiterate, like, what should be the alarm bells that people are going perhaps too fast or too slow, aside from having a pacing chart on their wrist?
So look, it's impossible to run all these hills without generating some kind of fatigue. Okay. So you are going to feel some fatigue, but when you feel that your quads are really starting to burn, that would be a sense of, okay, I need to slow down. But I am going to you're right, we can't go through every single medal, but we can use the Bill Rowan just to give a little bit of an example to people, to give them an idea of how to figure that out. Okay. So you're not going to lose much time going over the line for Bill Rowan. So you fortunately don't have to factor that part into your race plan. But, to get a Bill Rowan, you're going to be around 6:15, 6:16 per kilometer. So the ups are going to be at around 6:40. So depending on the steepness of the ups, you're going to be at around 6:20 to 6:40, but lots of Ks in the high 6:20s to 6:40s. And your more gradual downs are going to be just under 6, and then your steeper downs are going to be, sorry, let me just get down there so I can give you some examples, give you an idea of how long it takes before you actually get to those, but are going to be like in the 5:30s on those downs, 5:30 to 5:50, depending on just how gradual that gradient is. But that'll give you an idea. You're targeting like 6:30, 6:40, and then around 5:30 on the downs is how you're going to get yourself. And some of the hills are super gradual. So even though it's up, in those hills, you probably going to need to run them still just over, on the average. So if it's a 1% uphill, you probably need to be close to that 6:15, just because that's the nature of running a bull run on a route that is a bit steeper. But that should give most people an idea. You're 30 to 40 seconds slower on the hills, and then bit faster than that on the average, probably closer to 45, 50 seconds faster on the downs.
Yeah, and I think, guys, just to remember, I mean, Lindsay is going to be giving some talks at the expo, so maybe come in and listen to those. Come and get a pacing chart from us. Lindsay has taken into account the start, the amount of time it takes you to cross the line into that pacing chart, and obviously the elevation. So come and get those from us and chat to us there at the expo, because we can guide you through your specific one as well. Okay, so that is why we're there on the weekend. So come and check that out. But Lindsay, also around just pacing and using the paces on the day. Rose is saying she's, are there going to be paces for novices? She qualified with 4:49. Her estimated finish time is 11:56, and so she's stressed. Like, she really wants to finish. So what is your advice between using the paces on the day, because there are paces per the different medals anyways as well?
So Rose, use them in the second half. Like, my concern always with the pacing buses and the bus drivers is that most of them drive like a positive split. So if you qualified with a 4:49 and you're starting an H batch and you lose 10 minutes to get across the start line, and you try and make up that whole 10 minutes in the first 44Ks, then you're going to really struggle in the second half. So typically what I like is for people to stick to their guns, try and find someone that's got quite a few medals, that's on a strategy that's going to be quite close to yours. Come and chat to us at the expo so we can talk you through like what sort of paces, what you want to do, where you want to be where. And then if you do have a pacing bus around you, kind of from 40, 30, 25 kilometers to go, that's great, because you can just hand over all thought process to someone else that is experienced. And from that point on in, they will get you inside the finish. It's just that often in those first 30Ks, they push a little bit too hard to catch up that lost time. And Rose, you will finish the race, because you are stressed, you are going to plan, you are going to be nervous, and I know you're going to feel like you're under pressure all day, but you are going to finish. So come chat to us at the expo. We'll help get you more confident. We'll really give you a plan that you can believe in, and we'll get you there.
Yep, very much so. While we're on pacing charts, Humulani is asking how much is a pacing chart. So just so you guys know, if you're looking for a medal, so a sub 10 hour or sub 9:30, so the half an hour brackets, those will be 30 Rand. And then if you want something a bit more specific, like a 9:14 or 9:17 or something like that, we can print those for you on demand at the expo, and those are going to be 50 Rand. So, but again, come and chat to us so we can talk you through those and give you guys specific advice about that. Okay. Yes, Fez, you can buy those at the expo without ordering them. So as always, they will be at the Comrades stand or at the coach stand, where we will be standing as well. Okay, so come and chat to us about that. Linz, I really like this from Sean. I think Sean has definitely been following everything we've been doing this year, because you guys have a novice, and I'm really grateful. But I'd love to know how many people who started with an injury finished the race. He wants to use that as motivation. I think he's joking, because we've said it in every single webinar. It's just that it's 68% of people who started the race with an injury don't finish. But yeah, he's mentioned it again. I think he just wanted to make you know that he has been following everything you've been saying. Yeah, so that's a good one. Use that as your motivation, and then maybe just on that, Tabos is saying, so he's not starting with an injury, I'm sure, because he's been doing his strength training. Would you recommend to continue doing upper body, or should he rest for strength? If people have been doing strength, when do they stop?
Look, you probably can, but I wouldn't. You really want to be as fresh as you can be for Comrades. So yesterday should have been your last strength session, and 10 days off. What I do encourage people to do, and Shona's going to like this, I do encourage people to still do some mobility, and that serves two purposes, really. The first thing is that it's important that we taper and that we freshen up, but with that and that inactivity, and especially with cutting out the strength training, you can tighten up all your your soft tissues, your tendons, ligaments, muscles. They all do tighten up slightly, and that's why sometimes during the taper you actually feel a bit awkward and uncoordinated when you run, and then it takes like 30 or 40 minutes on race day before you actually start to feel like you feel like yourself. So you can replace, and it's a good idea to replace those strength sessions with some gentle mobility and some movement. But and you can even go through some of the strength moves without any weights, just body weight, just like 2 or 3 reps of everything instead of doing a full session, because it just keeps the joints lubricated, it keeps the range of motion, and it keeps you feeling good. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is that it actually alleviates stress and tension and nerves. So that tension that builds up, movement, going for a walk or any kind of movement, actually helps to leach that cortisol out of your body, and it brings your anxiety down, and it helps you to relax.
Yeah, I think the point there, because Ungama is now saying, so is Pilates still allowed? I think the key thing there is that we're not, the goal of the taper here, guys, is to get you as prepped as ready. So, yeah, light Pilates, but again, you're with a different trainer. Make sure they know you're racing. Yeah, Lindsay, your thoughts? Yeah, maybe let me let you.
Yeah, so I mean, it's the same principle. Put yourself through some of the movements, but don't hold poses for long. You don't want to make yourself tired. You very gentle, like the lightest sweat. You want to look like I don't know how to say this without offending somebody. So I guess someone's going to get offended, but like you want like someone in Santon, that when they go for a run, they mustn't switz, no switzing. We don't. So just a very gentle, like warm up. You must almost feel like you've just warmed up and are ready to train. Then you've probably done the right intensity of strength training or Pilates or whatever it is.
Excellent. Excuse me, Aisha and Londi and a couple of people asking about massages. When is the last time that you can and should have a massage?
That depends a lot on how regularly you've been going for massages. So if you have had massages all the way through this, you could probably have a massage the night before. I wouldn't recommend that, but that's the reality. Is if you are used to massages, your massage therapist, they know you, they know that you need a light massage, you could probably go. But yeah, in practical terms, I wouldn't have a massage within 72 hours of I wouldn't have a deep tissue massage within 72 hours of a race. And if you never get massages, but you're doing a long flight, for example, you could have a massage the day before the race, very light, almost like what we'd call an effleurage. And you just want an experienced physio or massage therapist to do that. So let's call it 72 hours is normally what I'd consider sensible.
Awesome. There are still 1 or 2 more questions, Linz. I'm going to keep going. I hope you're good for time. Nat is asking, so nothing new on race day, right? But he's saying, they are saying, what about new socks for race day? I found out my socks aren't in a good shape at the moment. Yeah, nothing new.
So Nat, lucky you've got 10 days. So I would go and buy 2-3 pairs of socks and run in each of them once or twice so that you can get a feel for them. But you don't want to put on brand new socks for race day. It's not a good idea. You just, even if it's a type of sock that you are always wearing and running, then it's a safer bet. But I literally buy the same brand of socks. I always do them. And then sometimes you buy one and it's just got one little thing that digs into my pinky toe. That I had last week, just on the edge of my pinky toe. Now, if I'd bought that and I was running in a half marathon Comrades, I mean, my toe would be trashed by the end of the race. So that's why you don't want new socks, but you've still got another 3 or 4 very easy runs between now and Comrades. So you go and buy them tomorrow, and then they won't be brand new, and buy them in a brand that you have known to reduce that risk further.
Excellent. I'm loving this. Just a comment from Murakiti saying injury free after following the Bull Run program for the past year. So really, really looking forward to my third. I love that. Injury free. So good job. Good luck. Renal is saying I usually get a vitamin B shot plus minus 10 days before a marathon. Is this a good idea? I mean, now we're 9 days. So is this a good idea, and when?
So I would stick to a similar routine. It's not new. You've done it before. It's worked well for you before. So I'd be happy for you to go and do that. And I'll try and get that done certainly either tomorrow or over the weekend. Look, the chances of you getting an infection from the needle are so low, but it is a chance. So don't go on Wednesday, and then something happens and the muscle's still sore when you're running. So I would try and get that done tomorrow or Saturday. Otherwise, leave it. Excellent.
Maybe just to reiterate, if people missed your initial part where you're speaking about being sick, Romlan was saying, hey guys, I just want to know I've been experiencing some stomach issues. I haven't trained for 2 weeks, but I've done. My medical doctor says that okay. Should people start? When do you make the call about starting the race or not starting the race? What is that?
Yeah. So I think, but two things that I want to address in that question, because I meant to, but I didn't, and that is also, understand, guys, you've trained. Look at this, 1,200 kilometers already. That's plenty to get. It's plenty to even get a Bull Run if you're that kind of level athlete. So 1,200 Ks, you're going to finish Comrades if we can just get you sorted. In this case, your doctor says you're fine. Honestly, if you haven't trained for the last 2 weeks, no drama, a couple of easy runs between now and then. In the first 2 weeks of injury and illness, you lose almost no fitness. In the next 2 weeks, you start to lose a bit of fitness. But I think now, as we're in these last 10 days, anyone who's sick or injured now, the one thing I can guarantee you won't lose any fitness between now and race day. So get healthy and injury free. Look, I think you can leave the call of whether to start or not right up to race morning. However, that call must be made with medical advice. I think that's the key thing to stress there, Shona. It's like, if you fall sick 2 days before the race, get to a doctor, find out what it is, let them give you the parameters around which, when you wake up in the morning, what are the parameters that are warning signs that you're putting yourself at risk, and what are the signs that say that actually you're probably okay to go. And that's how I'd make that decision.
Yeah, we just see it every year, and you mentioned it, and like my heart breaks. We trying to avoid emergence situations and death and sudden cardiac arrest and so on. And so, yes, it's Comrades, and yes, you've trained hard, but nothing is worth that. And read stories of people who land up on kidney dialysis because they're taking anti-inflammatories during the race. And so, please, guys, these things are not as important as your life. So let's keep moving on. Please speak to doctors if you are stuck and not feeling great. Linz, this is not really training related, but I think it would be interesting. Simone is asking, hi Mrs. Roy is asking, any predictions from your side for the winning time, gents and ladies?
So I think both records are likely to fall. I think last time out, ladies is now just under 6 hours, and with that 700 meters shorter, I think we can look forward to about 3.5 minutes faster on the record, and the men's record, I think, definitely gonna fall. Actually, I'll be honest and say I can't remember. I think it's at 5:20, but I think is it 5:24 on the app? 5:20 or 5:24, but I think it'll go under 5:20 with that under 86 kilometers. I think we will see an up run under 5:20, but not yet under 5. I don't think we'll get that low. I think we might get between 5:16 and 5:18 would be the number.
It is so quick when you think about that. And for an up run. So yeah, those runners are properly special. Great question, Simone. Thank you. Grace is asking, Lindsay, and this is again another great question in and around.
One little asterisk there. That's if we do get some colder weather. I think if we are faced with like 31-degree temperatures, then I'm not sure either of the records will fall. That's an important little asterisk. Anyway, next.
Maybe before we do, Lindsay, maybe how do we manage that? If it is 31 degrees, what is the advice that you would give to not just the elites, these, the guys we're speaking here tonight? How do you manage yourself on the day?
So look, it's an important question. It's not one that I love answering, because the simple answer to it is that for most of the field, you can increase your expected time between 15 and 30 minutes. Okay. So that's the simple answer. But that means for everyone who's 11 and a half hours or slower, I'm basically telling you to give up, because you're not going to make it. And that is not the case. This is the amazing thing about humans and human physiology, is that when the going gets tough, if we have an out, we take it. If we don't have an out, well, we keep going. And so fewer people will finish if that is the case. But the reality is that the marginal people still go on and they still finish. So I think what it must turn towards is that, yes, there needs to be some shift in what time you want to run for the bulk of the field, but the focus should shift to what can I do to reduce that stress. Okay, how do I keep myself cool? And if there is ice along the way, putting like ice, get your seconders, if they can pop ice into stockings, that you can put that ice around and let that ice slowly melt and slip into, when you get to water points, ice in your cap, to bring that body temperature down. If there's cold water, you can spray yourself with cold water. You do run the risk of having increased blisters and those kind of things. But the reality is, if you can keep yourself cool, you will save yourself minutes. So you want to change your focus to what are the things that I can do. You probably do need to increase your hydration slightly. However, I would still do that to thirst. Don't go, oh, it's a hot day, I need to now jack up my water intake to 2 sachets per table. That could lead you into massive complications with overhydration. So stick to your normal routine of drinking, but as you feel your thirst going up, then you also increase the amount of fluids that you take in. And if you're increasing the amount of water you are taking, you want to offset that by also increasing the amount of salty snacks. Like, so if they've got potato chips or salted potatoes, or if you've got gels with extra sodium in them, or if you've got electrolytes, or like rehydrate, stuff like that. So if you do find yourself in that situation where you need to start pushing up your fluid intake because it's hot and you need it because you're sweating more, you're also sweating out more electrolytes. You need to replace both fluids and electrolytes.
Excellent. Thank you, Lynn. So yeah, let's get to Grace's question now, in and around shoes. So nothing new on race day, you've said before, but Grace say, I'm struggling with shoes. I have blisters and black toes. I've tried every shoe. I've been to a podiatrist, but still no help. What does she do for Comrades?
So I would cut the shoes. So where you need to try and figure out if it's on the front of the toe, so in other words, if we're talking about the front of the toe, or if we're actually talking about the toenails, because the toenails, often what they do is they catch on the front, the top of, they catch repeatedly, lots of little catches on the top of your sock and or shoe. And so above the toes that are going black and blue where the nails are, you literally just cut a hole out of the shoe. So you maintain the integrity of the shoe, so you've still got the front of the toe box, but right at that point where your toes are, you literally just cut out a hole so that those toes don't catch on anything. And if your toes aren't catching on anything, that will hopefully help prevent those black toes.
And then next year, Grace.
And then you are in shoes, you're in the same shoes, you maintain the integrity of the shoes, you use the same locking mechanism with your shoelaces, so you're not doing anything new per se on race day. Yeah.
And then for next year, Grace, you start adding in some foot exercises for yourself so that you no longer get black toes and you've got nice strong feet as well. So they can add that to your strength routine. Sticking with shoes, Linz, and then one or two more questions. Last one on shoes. Mamukhale is asking, is it true that if you are replacing your shoes, you can just replace the insoles so that you're still keeping the same shoe, or is it actually the integrity of the shoe?
So if you have to, for some reason, replace your shoes next week, okay? Like I can't think of a good enough reason that you suddenly have to replace the shoes next week, then yes, putting in the old insole will help with the comfort and how your foot sits on the shoe, because in a brand new shoe, there's a lot more sliding at the beginning, especially at the beginning. The problem, though, still remains this, is that modern shoes are made to stick on and run. You can run, now I'm going to regret saying this out loud, but you can run, comrades, in a brand new pair of shoes that are out the box. But what you can't determine is if there's a little factory fault with that shoe, if there's something wrong with that shoe, and then you're on a hiding to nothing. And that's why I encourage people to run like a minimum of 50 Ks and preferably around 150 to 200 Ks in their Comrade shoe, because then your foot is really in it and lacquer and the shoe's at its best. It's running, the sole is slightly worn, so its grip improves, doesn't slip. That's where your shoe is in its peak. I wouldn't run Comrades in carbon shoes, but of course, if you're running in carbon shoes or like in an old school lightweight racing shoe, then you probably don't want 150 Ks. Then you probably want 50. You want just enough to run that shoe and be comfortable in the shoe and be happy that the shoe's not defective. And so to this question, you won't get 50 Ks between now and race day, but at least you'll probably get somewhere around 30 Ks. And that's still better than going in cold turkey with a pair of shoes with a brand new insole, because you just don't, the chances are the shoe's fine, but you don't know. And then what happens if you end up with a dud? So rather stick to that, nothing new on race day. If you can get the new shoes this weekend, do like a 10 in them on Saturday and 8 in them on Sunday, 2 5Ks in them next week, you're up to 30 Ks. You'll at least then be happy that the shoe is not defective. You've got the old insole in there, and off you go.
Awesome. Thanks, Linz. Linz, I know you're not a medical doctor, but I want to ask this just because people will ask this question anyways. What are the safe painkillers to use? Should people be taking painkillers on race day? What's the general sort of advice? I know you're not a medical doctor.
No, but we've been in and around doctors a lot. So I mean, I hate painkillers and I hate anti-inflammatory. So I'm always speaking from a point of bias that I almost feel like taking painkillers and taking anti-inflammatories is almost robbing yourself of part of what the Comrades journey is about. But parking that bias aside, what is safe? And yeah, I've been fortunate now. I'm going to my 4th Olympic Games shortly. And so I've been very fortunate to work with some very skilled, knowledgeable doctors, and the thing that they always say to me over and over again is like, there are very few things that are unsafe if you do one. So if you're going to take one painkiller, you're probably going to be okay. If it's a Panado, you're almost certainly going to be okay. If it's going to be a Tramoset, then I would have that chat with the doctor. Like, why do you need a Tramoset? So that would be the first question. Okay. And then anti-inflammatories, I would say no cigar. So if you've got something that requires you to take anti-inflammatories before the race, the anti-inflammatory has like a half-life of about 8 hours. So if you had your last one with your evening meal, give it its maximum effect, but then on race day, don't do it. So an anti-inflammatory, the problem with anti-inflammatory, very simply, is that when we are sweating and hot and deep into a race, we experience vasoconstriction around the kidneys already. One of the side effects of anti-inflammatories is vasoconstriction of the veins and arteries around the kidney. And so what happens with the anti-inflammatories is that you actually cut off the blood supply to the kidneys, and that can lead to renal failure. So that's why you don't want to take anti-inflammatories, but taking painkillers is better, but you don't take a rack. Okay, so if you feel like you need one, maximum two painkillers, chat to your doctor first. I feel like that's important, especially if it's a proper, if it's not an over-the-counter painkiller, but if it's a scheduled drug, you need a prescription, speak to your doctor. But if you're going to take one, maximum two, then that's all you take. Because if it's like me and chocolate. If I know there's a slab of chocolate in the cupboard in the house, I can't eat 1 or 2 blocks. If I'm going to have 1 or 2 blocks, then my wife has to somehow make me believe that there are only 1 or 2 blocks of chocolate in the house. Painkillers are the same. When you run Comrades and you are sore, if you only have one painkiller to take, then you will only take one painkiller. But if you have a slab, a whole sheet of painkillers, you are going to take more. And that's where you start to put yourself in real risk. Okay, so yeah, I agree with Shona. Don't take it without chatting to your own doctor. Try not to take anything stronger than Panado, but absolutely avoid anti-inflammatories.
Brilliant. Lindsay, I'm gonna sneak in because now there's questions coming through. I thought we were going to pull it in. So yeah, one or two more. If that's cool with you.
No, that's all good.
Yeah, and then we'll call it from there. So this is a great question, and maybe you can also just speak to Gordon about cramping. But is it safe to ask for crampasol tablets on the road from fellow runners? What happens if you cramp on race day? What are some of the strategies we can use?
So look, the cramp can be caused by electrolyte imbalance, and so things like cramp not, cramp stop, electrolytes, they can help. I wouldn't ask for crampasol tablets if you've never had them. So I mean, if you've suffered from cramp before and you've used crampasol and it's worked for you, and there are runners that have got spare crampasol tablets or gels or whatever, fine, go for it. Also, similarly, if you are riddled with cramp and you can't go backwards and forwards, and someone says, hey, here's an Eno, or here's some vinegar, or here is a cramp knot chili shot, whatever the case may be, is, if you are stuck on the side of the road, you can't go forward. Well, as much as I say nothing new on race day, that's probably at the point at which I'll go like, okay, I need to try something. Okay, but on a more kind of practical, what can you practically do about cramping? And now cramp ultimately is a phenomenon that occurs when we get something called cross-bridge fatigue. And without getting too complicated with that, really all it means is that as we get more fatigued and there's a delay in the signal for muscles to contract and relax, we get to a point that the signal of the contracting and relaxing between two sets of muscles that work together, like the hamstring and the quad, or like the anterior tib or shin muscle and the calf, those muscles, there's like an overlap, and they both cramp or they both contract at the same time. Now that's not supposed to happen. One's relaxed, the other one contracts, and that's how they work. But when we get this delayed signaling, and then boom, and that's when we get the cramp. So what you want to do when you do get cramp is it's difficult to do this, by the way. I'm giving you a solution that's not easy to do, but it works. I promise it works. Is you don't want to stop moving. Okay. If you completely, so when you feel that cramp come, that first motion will be like a shock, and then you want to slow down but keep moving. Okay. Because if when that moment comes, you stop because you go, oh, bam, that's when it's going to hit you with everything it's got. And that's where you kind of stand there and you can't get it to relax and you can't get it to relax. So when it strikes like that, slow down and walk. And then for a good few kilometers, you want to do like a slow transition between running and walking. But when you transition, don't suddenly start running. You slowly build up to your run, and you run for a while, and then you transition to a walk, and you run, and you change the firing pattern of those muscles. And while you're doing that run, walk, and slowing down, try and get some fuels and some electrolytes and food and energy. So it's not about the electrolytes so much, it's about the energy and getting the energy up. And because you're going to run much slower and there's going to be lots of walk breaks, your body will be able to process some solid foods better. So get some potato chips, some potatoes, some bananas. Really just try and get your energy up with some solid foods, and you will be able to keep going, and hopefully with a run walk, but just slowly getting closer to the pace that you are used to running. But yeah, that's the best and most practical advice that I can give you for cramping. If someone's got like deep heat spray, that's something that works quite well, or deep heat cream. That warmth also seems to help with that coordination of the contracting and relaxing. The cold spray can just boom, because as that cold hits the muscle, so you want the warm spray or deep heat, that hot spray, not icy hot spray.
Excellent. So, Linz, I'm going to call it there, because we know that sleep is really important. And guys, it's race week, or coming into race week. You're not going to sleep on the night. You're going to be nervous. Try and get in as much sleep as we can this week. So let's call it there, because you've often said in bed and asleep before 10. So in bed early, asleep before 10. Let's call it for the night. Here, guys, please come and say hi to us at the expo. Really looking forward to it. Getting so excited for race day. I'm sure you guys are as well. So yeah, please come and say hi to us. Thank you to Sifiso for his presentation again on the charities. Really, really awesome work that people have done there. Lynn's parting shot from you, and then we can call it for the night.
Yeah, so guys, it really is close. It's been an awesome 6 months. I've said it so many times. I'm so excited about it being an up run again. I'm really looking forward to. I know our whole team is super excited to be at the expo, and they are super excited to be on the side of the road for you guys. So come to the expo. Please say hi. There will be, as I said, pacing charts. That'll be the general ones for on the hour and half hours. We'll be selling pacing charts. But most importantly, we're there to say hi, interact, really congratulate you guys for getting this far, and then to give you some last minute advice. And then at the Theatre of Dreams, which is Sifiso and Comrades are putting together, I'll be talking there specifically around race strategy and the pacing chart. So those are the two things that I will be talking about. I'll be doing 2 talks in the morning, 2 talks in the afternoon. So yeah, come and give those a listen. I owe Sifiso document so that he can actually advertise what time those are. But we'll get that out early next week. So yeah, thanks for joining us. It's been amazing. It's been an amazing Comrades season. And I am very much looking forward to next weekend.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you so much for your time, Linz. Thank you, Sifiso, for your time. And yeah, we'll see you guys all on the road. Exciting times. Have an awesome rest of your evening. Thank you, team.